Hey, this is Craig, and I decided to do a little bit different video today. I'm going to talk about a historical area that I live in, and a little bit about the archaeology dig and archaeology in general up in Alexandria. So we're going to take a little tour here. It's a historical marker for Fort Ellsworth. Colonel Ellsworth was a Yankee that invaded Alexandria in May of 1861, and he was shot and killed stealing a Confederate flag from the Marshall House, and was shot by James Jackson, who was then killed by Colonel Browning. And right behind this sign is the fort. And on Google Maps in the spring, you can actually see the outlines of the fort when it greens up from all the gunpowder in the ground along the edge of the fort. Later on in the summer, you can't see it when it gets drier, but that's the Masonic Temple where this thing is at. All right, I'm standing right in the middle of the Fort Ellsworth, and pointing my camera right toward the historical marker where I was just standing. And this is about, the fort is cut off by these apartments and this water company here, but about a good third of the fort, it kind of went down this side here and then all along this area here. And like I said, on Google Maps in the spring, you can actually see the outlines of the fort. And it's kind of a little ditch down over here where you can kind of see edge of it a little bit. And then across the way over there by that big tree is a archaeological site that's been going on since about 1995, and I'm going to go over there and show you that now. This is the Archaeology Site. It's been here since about 1995, and they have a summer camp in the summer right in the middle of the heat in July, and they have all these kids come out here and dig, and they have to pay $300 and they don't get to keep anything. And the archaeologists will never tell you what they're finding except for pot shards and nails. And but I've got a lot of spies that have told me what's going on. And a couple of relic hunters had their kids in this camp so they could find out what they were finding. And they're finding coins and bullets and buttons, and they found a 1798 Spanish real. They found 3-cent pieces, half dimes. They found a medal from George Washington's era. All kinds of different things. But they call this a mystery mansion. And this was actually a quartermaster's area, and we used to play baseball using this backstop here. This tree is a backstop. These two houses right across here, I dug both those yards, and the one on the right, that was actually a yard to the house on the left. Got a lot of bullets and buttons and coins. Charge people like $200 an hour. I've been to some sites where people were just livid on how much they charged to do a historical property, and Alexandria is one of the few cities where archaeology is tied into construction, and they got to survey different properties. We've been to a lot of different properties where they said there wasn't anything there except for Indian artifacts, and we found a ton of stuff. And they don't use metal detectors, so they don't usually know what's even on the site. But you can see they've expanded this area over the years, and they seem to dig down about 2 or 3 feet deep. But from what I've heard, they found quite a bit of stuff, but they never really tell you what they find. There's a trench that kind of runs from the fort, and kind of runs up here. See a little bit of it here. another trench that is a little better preserved. It's kind of right in front of the archaeology site. But it goes on up the hill here, parallel to the other trench. A lot of these areas, they had double trenches to fall back on in case we got attacked. It's this reservoir that was built in 1850. You can see this brick building over here with the flag. It's a water company. It was built in 1870. We got an argument with the archaeologists. They said the reservoir was built in 1870. But I read a diary where in 1861 a Minnesota soldier said he camped right next to the reservoir in Fort Ellsworth. So I also have a map that shows it from around the 1850 period. When we were kids, that building was abandoned, and we used to play hide and go seek in it. And we used to run around this reservoir, throw rocks, and go swimming, all kinds of stuff. This is another view looking up toward the fort, and it was up on top of that hill there. And you can see kind of a little bit of the outlines right down here at the bottom. This top of this hill is the highest area in Tidewater, Virginia, and it was also the first choice for the nation's capital, the Capitol building. There's a couple of pot shards I just found on the pile of dirt. Thought I'd show a few of the artifacts that we found around that area. This is a bugle mouthpiece found in one of the yards, right by the Masonic Temple's fence. Pretty nice find. This is the top of a flagstaff. You can see where it hooked into the, kind of screwed into the bottom. Kind of a heavy, very heavy brass piece. It's a New York cuff. There's a lot of New York troops all over Alexandria, and they had more troops than anybody in the northern side. There's a New York coat. It's pretty good shape. Pretty beautiful buttons, but they're very common. Connecticut heavy artillery built most of these forts in Alexandria and D.C., and that's the Connecticut cuff. Got quite a bit of gold gilding on it. This is Massachusetts. There was a big Massachusetts camp right behind this fort. It was mostly Massachusetts and New York troops up on this hill. All right. I hope you liked my video, and if you did, please subscribe.